Hey, Tom here from the Run Testers. In this video, which is brought to you by the team at Precision Fuel and Hydration, I'm going to be doing a comparison of two very popular cushioned running shoes that I've been running in quite a bit over the last few months. The first of those is the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 and the Nike ZoomX Invincible Flyknit. Let's take a look and see how these two shoes compare. If you're watching this video, then the chances are you're looking for a pair of max cushion shoes for doing a lot of miles. Now, although the right kit really is important for any of your training, never underestimate the importance of getting your fueling and hydration right for different distances, especially if you're racing. Precision Fuel and Hydration have a massive range of products available for all types of runners, from electrolytes to keep you hydrated to carbohydrates designed for all different endurance distances. To find out more about Precision Fuel and Hydration, click the link in the caption below. You can also get a discount of 15% by using the code RT15. The New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 costs £130 or $164.99. It weighs in at 288 grams or 10.2 ounces, and the drop is 4mm. The Nike ZoomX Invincible Run costs £164.95 or $180, weighs in at 286 grams or 10.1 ounces, and the drop is 9mm. The New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 is a shoe that, unsurprisingly, has a lot more cushioning than you'll find in other road shoes in the New Balance range. That midsole is a thick chunk of the same fresh foam you'll find in other popular options like the 1080 V11 and the 860 V12, and it's a foam that offers a good balance between cushioning and responsiveness. It's a shoe designed for tackling lots of training miles, deadening the impact and ensuring you can cover the distance in as much comfort as possible. The engineered mesh upper provides a plush ride that feels sturdy and reinforced, which combines with a wide base to ensure the overall feel of the shoe is both stable and reliable. It also has a lace closure design with trace fibre eyelets to ensure a lockdown fit, as well as a healthy covering of rubber on the outsole. The ZoomX Invincible Run Flyknit uses the same incredibly soft and bouncy foam used in super shoes like the Vaporfly and the Alphafly. It's a rare case of Nike using ZoomX in a shoe that isn't designed for racing, and the result is the most cushioned option available from the brand. To minimise the instability caused by ZoomX, Nike has made a wider base on the Invincible Run, as well as covered it with a thick rubber outsole to increase durability and add a good level of grip on varied road conditions. The Flyknit upper offers a comfortable fit that includes ample padding around the ankle collar, and there's also a curved design to help heel-to-toe transitions. So the fit in these two shoes is quite similar actually. They're both very comfortable shoes. The New Balance More V3, it fits true to size for me. It's very comfortable. I would say it's quite a roomy shoe. I would still stay true to size, but just bear in mind that there's a lot of extra space in it. So the front toe box of the More V3 has a lot of wiggle room for your feet, so it helps quite a lot with comfort. But just bear that in mind if you're buying the shoe, so there's a little bit of extra space in it. The Nike Invincible, pretty similar. I wouldn't say it's as spacey, but it's definitely not a narrow shoe. It fits true to size for me, and I find it very comfortable. I've had no issues with the fit in either of these shoes. So when it comes to the run, these shoes deliver a similar thing. They're both designed to do the same thing, which is lots of comfort, lots of cushioning over many, many miles. But they do feel quite different. And what I would say about these shoes is I love both of these shoes. I think they're both fantastic options. And if you get either of these, you're probably not going to go wrong if you want comfort and cushioning. However, they do feel different on the feet, and I would probably use these shoes for slightly different reasons when it comes to those cushioned long miles. The New Balance More V3 has very quickly over the past few weeks become my favourite cushion shoe at the moment. I'm absolutely loving this shoe. It's just got everything you need for doing those slow, easy day miles where you want comfort, where you want cushioning, where you want support, where you want basically anything that makes a run more enjoyable if you're not planning on going fast or trying to get PBs or anything like that. The Fresh Foam midsole is a really interesting one in the More V3. It's the same fresh foam that you get in a lot of New Balance's shoes. And what I found about the Fresh Foam midsole is that In some shoes, like the 1080 V11 or the earlier ones, that midsole is not the softest midsole foam out there. So in the 1080 V11, it actually feels a little bit more versatile, a little bit more like you can run a bit faster if you want to. And that's the reason that shoe is so popular with general running. A lot of people use it for marathons, a lot of people use it for training runs. It's just a very versatile shoe. It's a great shoe that you can get if you just want one pair of shoes that will cover you for everything. Especially if it's something like your first half marathon or first marathon where you want one shoe to do all your training in and you're racing. The More V3 has a lot more of that fresh foam midsole in. And interestingly, it actually changes the way that the shoe feels for me. So whereas that fresh foam midsole normally feels a little bit firmer for me, a little bit more responsive, I don't get that from the More V3. Once you add more of that fresh foam into the midsole, it suddenly becomes a lot softer. And the More V3 is a very soft shoe. You can really feel that midsole squishing as you're running in it, and it just feels like it's deadening the impact beautifully. It's not the softest shoe I've ever tried. That is the Nike Invincible, and the Invincible is by far the softest midsole I've ever felt in a cushioned shoe. Now, the Nike Invincible is an interesting shoe because it's the first daily shoe or easy run shoe to use a fully ZoomX midsole. And ZoomX is the foam that you get in a lot of the more performance-based shoes like the Vaporfly and the Alphafly. And it's incredibly bouncy, squishy foam. When it's used in something like the Alphafly and the Vaporfly, it feels really bouncy as well. So you get that benefit of it feeling quite light, but also it feels propulsive. It almost feels like you're bouncing along as you're running, which is why it's so good in those race shoes. It really does help with efficiency, and it really does make you feel like you can bounce a lot further and go faster. In the Invincible, this shoe isn't designed for running fast, so it's interesting to see that foam used in a daily context, and it delivers really well. You get a similar feel to what you get in the Vaporfly, so it does feel bouncy. It does feel like you've got a lot of soft cushioning there, but it's not deadening the impact. It's sort of propelling you up as you go. But the thing I find about the Nike Invincible is that it doesn't propel you forward as much as something like the Vaporfly, but it does feel like it's helping you up every time. So I find it to be a very comfortable application of that ZoomX foam, but in a really interesting way that doesn't necessarily make you want to run faster, but just feels really enjoyable and really comfortable. ZoomX foam is historically quite a soft but also unstable foam, which is what you tend to get a lot with these foams that are very bouncy. The ZoomX in the Nike Invincible, to get around that, they've made a really wide base on the midsole foam there. You can see how thick that is in comparison to other shoes, and it does work very well. By making that really thick base, the unstable ZoomX foam actually delivers well and feels relatively stable. It still does feel a little bit wobbly for me, but not to the point where I feel like I'm going to topple over at any point, which if I was doing daily training miles in the Vaporfly, I probably would. When you compare that midsole in the two foams, it does feel very different. So the More V3 sort of gets its softness and cushioning from the fact that there's a lot of that midsole foam in there. And normally fresh foam isn't that soft and bouncy. So that's how the More V3 becomes soft and bouncy. But with the Invincible, it's sort of the opposite. The foam is already really, really soft and really, really bouncy. So by putting more in, they're sort of building up the stability on it. It's making it thicker so that it isn't too soft, and you can use it for daily miles without it being too unstable. The difference in feel is quite noticeable. The Invincible is incredibly soft. As soon as you start wearing it, it just feels like you're walking on marshmallows. But with the added bonus that it's also quite responsive and bouncy as well. The More V3 doesn't feel as soft as the Invincible. It is soft, but if you really want full-on softness, the Invincible is the one to go for. It just feels fantastic. But I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the best thing you want, because I actually prefer slightly firmer cushioning that you get in the More V3. When it comes to the outsole, these two shoes are quite similar in the amount of protection that they have on those. ZoomX foam is notorious for not being very durable. Vaporflies are renowned for not lasting as long as some shoes which have a more durable midsole in them, which is why people don't tend to train in Vaporflies, because you'd end up spending a lot of money on shoes because you'd be wearing them out so much. There's a lot of ZoomX in this Invincible shoe, but to get around the lack of durability in ZoomX, they have added a lot of rubber on the outsole. And it does a fantastic job. It's really good at gripping. There's a lot of it covering that shoe, so it does protect the shoe for quite a while. I've probably done about 80-90k in both of these shoes now, and it's still looking really good on the outsole and the Invincible. The More V3 Fresh Foam is actually considerably more durable when it comes to wear and tear. So it doesn't cover all of the shoe, but there is quite a lot of rubber on there, because when you want an easy shoe, you want it to last a long time. You want to be doing a lot of miles in that shoe, and you're not having to buy new shoes all the time. So even though this is made of Fresh Foam, there is a healthy level of rubber. It's pretty thick on the outsole of the New Balance More V3. So both of these shoes have nice features in them to build up that durability so that you can do a lot of mileage. I'd also say that when it comes to stability, the More V3 does it for me. It may be slightly looser around the forefoot. It does feel like there's a more relaxed fit to it, but I've never had any issues with this shoe when it comes to feeling slightly wobbly or like your foot isn't quite in place when you're running. It does feel very locked down despite that extra room. The Invincible isn't bad, but what I would say is that ZoomX does for me make it just feel a little bit more unstable than the More V3. So it's definitely not a big problem, and I've ran in this shoe and always enjoyed it and never really felt like I was unstable. But if you're comparing the two, I'd say that this is a more stable shoe. So if you have concerns around stability in the shoe itself, I would probably opt for the More V3. So the verdict for me in these two shoes is a really tricky one, because I really love both of these shoes. I think these are probably the two best cushion shoes out there at the moment for easy miles, when you're really trying to do a lot of runs and you just want to keep your legs comfortable and ticking over in the most enjoyable way possible. The difference comes in the midsole, because the midsole is the only thing between these shoes that really differentiates it for me, and that should be the one thing that guides your spending on which of these shoes you should go for. The ZoomX midsole foam in the Invincible is incredibly soft. It's the softest shoe I've ever run in, apart from the Vaporfly, but the Vaporfly feels very different because it's designed for racing. The ZoomX in this just feels like you're running on marshmallows. It just feels so soft, but also feels quite bouncy as well. It's an experience that I love. When you step out in this shoe, it just feels great. It feels enjoyable. Even if you don't want to go for a run, it feels enjoyable. But I don't think that's for everyone. It's that soft cushion feel is an acquired taste, and it is very soft and cushioned in these. Not everyone's used to that, and not everybody wants to feel like that when they go running, which is where the More V3 probably comes in, because that foam is much more traditional foam. It feels like a normal running shoe. It doesn't particularly feel that different. It feels soft and cushioned, but not instantly. You're not running in it and thinking, wow, this is incredibly soft. But if you do 10k in it, if you do half marathon in it, you know it's soft. It's protecting your knees and legs, but it's not a really obvious feel to the More V3 in how it responds to your running. So I think it really comes down to that factor. If you want a really soft shoe, and it's something that you should probably try out, because it's quite hard to explain the softness of the Invincible on a video, because if you've not tried one before, it really does make a difference, especially if you've never tried a Vaporfly. If you've tried a Vaporfly, you probably get the idea of what this will feel like. But I think it would come down to that. If you want a conventional feeling cushion shoe, which isn't going to be too different from other shoes that you're probably running in, I'd go for the New Balance More V3. If you really want something that is just unbelievably soft and cushioned, but also bouncy as well, that sort of bounces you upwards and keeps you going, the Invincible is a great way to go. The only other thing is the slight stability difference that you're getting from the Invincible over the More V3, which is a bit more stable for me over those long distance efforts. So that's it from me for another Versus video. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell icon. And if you want to help us out, we do have a coffee account set up, which means you can buy us a coffee if you want, if you enjoy these videos. The link is down in the caption below. And don't forget to check out Precision Fuel and Hydration. You can get your 15% discount using the code RT15. You just need to go into the captions and click on the link, and then check out all the products they've got across the site and find out what might work for you. So thanks a lot. See you soon.